Well, I think, like you said, there's such this intensity, and it's so broad that you can't have that much intensity for everything, and then grabbing onto these things and trying to be intense with them that don't matter, to where I think what tends to happen is you can't have all of that gumption for every single thing, so then you just start to lessen the intensity all around, towards like, no, you need to make it simple and be intense with that singular thing. It's like you pick a few things that do matter to you, or you do think move the needle, and you be intense with those, and then all of the other stuff you kind of just get rid of, and you don't worry so much about. It's not about those things. You only have so much bandwidth. That's something that we have said before. Of you only have so much bandwidth, so you can only put so much focus and intensity towards so many things, that you have to figure those things out. And I think as we continue to get older, we start to figure out more and more what those things are, and they probably even change over time too. I cared a lot about this thing before, and now it's changing to something else. And that's why I think we probably won't change on the health and fitness stuff, because that filters and affects so many other things, that if you have some intensity and some effort towards that stuff and you're a healthy person, that just makes everything else better. When you're sleeping properly, your body's in good shape, and you're eating proper foods, and you're being filled with nutrients and all of that good stuff, you can now put the time and the effort and the intensity towards the things that will move other needles. Because if you're not, now all of your focus is always on that, or your health is always a detriment to everything else you're always doing. You can't do your job as effectively, or you can't play with your kids, or you can't be attentive to them as effectively. It starts to affect all of those other things. I think that's why it continues to show me, or just like come back up each time, that this is one of those things that is important, because if I can be healthy, I can then put the intensity towards other things. If I'm not, I just can't put the same sort of time, effort, and efficiency and intensity and all of the other words towards that thing. It's like, if you're not sleeping well, and you're not eating well, and you're unhealthy, how much time and effort do you think you're going to have to be able to put towards your kids that need it? They need the attention, they need the correction, they need the guidance. But you're an unhealthy person that can't figure that stuff out. You sleep 5-6 hours a night, and it's not good sleep, and you're barely working out, and you're not a healthy person. And so that probably is going to affect them, because the things that you're buying and putting into your body is going to be what they're having. They're not seeing you exercise and be healthy, so they're not going to be. And now that whole chain is going to just continue to affect everybody. It's that thing with like type 2 diabetes, or any of the like people that are overweight. It's a whole family thing, because it's everybody in that line is getting affected by it, because the parents are eating away, they're feeding their kids that way. Those kids grow up, they continue to eat the same way, then they're going to feed their kids that way. That, the whole break the cycle thing, there's truth to that, because now this family is now eating healthy, and they work out and exercise, and it just continues to be that way. And I think that stuff is really important to have, because it affects so much of your other stuff down the line. Your mood, your attitude, like your work ethic, your energy. It filters into the whole rest of your life. So how are you able to do all that stuff when you need to step up and do something extra? You have the capability to do that, rather than, I can't even sleep 6 hours. Like, I can't put anything else extra on my plate. It's just, that's one thing that I just don't think will change, because of how much it affects everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, like, directing your intensity with that. Like, that is one of those things that we have both decided, no, like, keep the RPMs high with that, and continue to be smart about it, and educate ourselves more, so that we can help the kids do that. And like, what does our household look like for that? What are they going to be seeing? It's not, well, we talk about this and we go on a podcast and talk about it, Like, no, what are our kids just going to observe? What are they going to see us doing? How are they going to see us behaving with food? Or how are they going to see us behaving with activity? We need to set our life up to be able to maintain that. So when you talk about the rest of the spectrum, it's not how much can we crush in every single one of these avenues. If those avenues are getting affected, or if those avenues are affecting the health aspects of our life, maybe like, some jobs that we have, or maybe certain things that we want to do, would that impact how we maintain our health? It's like, okay, well, maybe that's something to think about and adjust, because that is one of the more top priorities that we want to have.
Well, and I think it's not only just kids, it's like everybody else around you.
Well, yeah.
It's the rest of your family or your friends or your work environment, the group around you. When you're promoting that, or you're a healthy person and you have that figured out. And I think once you've been doing it long enough, you can reduce the intensity because it becomes autopilot. It becomes second nature. We don't have to put that much time and effort into it. It's like we go to the grocery store and we know what we're buying and we know what we're getting, and we have a better sense of what's good for us, what's not good for us. And same with the activity. Like, we were back for five days or something like that, and 6 days maybe, and we worked out twice, and we know, like, okay, we're coming back. We just got to get back into our thing, go to the gym, work out, get exercise, get outside, go for walks, get the sleep schedule back together. It's like you just have this second nature, or this, I don't know. It's not so difficult to do it anymore. And then all of the people around you pick up on it too. And then you're having those conversations with them of how can I, fix my sleep, or what should I do for workouts, or what should I be eating, or the natural conversation around health and activity and all that kind of stuff just starts to happen. And you can affect the people in your family too, and in your work environment, because they're obviously noticing something. For us, like, we do a podcast and it seems like a fair amount of our family listens to it, so they know generally what we're talking about a lot of the time. So those conversations just naturally come up of health, and you just have conversations with them, and you plant seeds, and hopefully they grow, and over time I think we have both seen that they do, and like you're happy with that. And then now when you're at family gatherings, like more people are wanting to bring healthier food or better options, or well, let's sit outside because it's nice out, and let's play a game outside, or let's go for a walk, or let's do this or do that. It just happens more naturally. And I think the same thing happens at work too. And it's the healthier that everybody is, I think the more positivity that there is about that stuff, because there's just so much like studies and data and that sort of stuff, that a lot of this stuff affects attitude and moods, and our society seems pretty on edge and upset and angry and sad and depressed, and there's ADHD that's going crazy, and to put the craziness out there, like ADHD and autism and all that kind of stuff, like I don't understand how we don't look at the health of people like that's not having an effect. Something that RFK Jr. was talking about before, like people didn't have allergies when I grew up. How does everybody have allergies now? People didn't have ADHD when I grew up. People didn't have autism when I grew up. It's like, I don't think those things were just under the radar and people weren't diagnosing it. I think it's ramped up significantly. How do we not look at food supply, how we're eating, our activity levels? I mean, we have it at the studio. We've talked about it a million times, but you can tell which kids get a lot of activity and eat healthy versus the ones that don't. The ones that don't can't sit still, have the ADHD issues, and they can't listen, can't look you in the eye. You have to tell them 14 times to stop doing what they're doing or to do what they should be doing, to where the kids that are healthy and whatever don't have those issues at all. And I don't, obviously this is our like end all be all type of thing. So of course to us, it is the major issue of everything, but I just don't get how we don't as a society look at that stuff more of this is clearly affecting the entire society, and all of the issues that we have, maybe not all, but a lot of the issues that we have is probably directly related to all this stuff. And there's just not a lot of focus. So I think if you're somebody that has a lot of focus on it, and, you know, we had a little bit of this conversation with your dad too, of like, I feel like he's kind of where we were at a little while ago of, why do I even have conversations with people or talk to people because they don't listen? And it's 100% valid and true. It's like, it's super frustrating to do that. But I think you just have to not have the attachment to it of, you can't have the attachment to the outcome, whether they do it or not. You have to have the attachment to the integrity of you
what
helping that
information am
person.
I talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm somebody that they're coming to me or wanting to have a conversation with me, so they must think I have a little bit more information about this stuff, and
or maybe that you care about it, so they're just trying to like relate to you and have things in common, which is still, to me, that still shows like, okay, so I'm presenting myself in a way that I want to, because you clearly see that this is something that you should bring up with me because it's an interest of mine.
Yeah.
So I'm living that.
Yeah. So I think like you should have the conversations with them, and you should talk about it, and you should try to help and give what you know and give the suggestions and do that. The hard part is not having the attachment to whether they do it or not. It's like, I think you have to have the attachment to your integrity of helping that person. I did what I could and gave them the information that I could, that I knew at that time, to help that person. And whether it works or not, you know, that's varying, and that is very dependent. But if you don't say anything, there's 100% certainty that nothing will happen. But if you do say something, there's at least some small percentage that something will happen and something will go to the positive. You know, I feel like we've had that effect on a few people in our family, that if we wouldn't have said anything and never done anything, those people wouldn't also be people that are now like, yeah, I can see how this is important now, and I'm noticing other people are not doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about that or share that. And then they start to, and then it's like, oh, well, nobody listens. And, you know, and with your dad specifically, you've been like, yeah, this was you.
Yeah.
And he's always like, yeah, I know, which is awesome, because a lot of people don't have that self-awareness. But it is just like, it doesn't take one time or two times. Like, it takes years to get people to plant the seed and to have people start to think about it more and try to apply it more. And I don't know. I think it's one of these things that it's weird to me that people don't try or care about it. Maybe just because it's been in my life for so long and I see the benefit so much. But, you know, we talk about all the time of, well, we know exactly why this is happening for you.
Right.
Because you're not sleeping, you're not eating what you should, and you're not exercising. That like, all of the studies show that those three things affect exactly what you're talking about. So if you were to fix those things, my guess would be that your issues would be better or solved.